There are people who walk into a room and say nothing, yet everyone immediately takes notice. Not because of their size, not because they're being loud, but because of their presence. And here's the thing, that presence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. And the ancient Stoics figured out exactly how to do it over 2,000 years ago. They discovered 4 behaviors that make certain people absolutely magnetic. And honestly, a little intimidating in the best possible way. Now, when I say dangerous, I don't mean the guy picking fights at the bar or the person screaming at customer service. That's just noise. Real danger is quiet. It's controlled. It's the kind of person who makes others think twice before crossing them, not because they're violent, but because they're unreadable. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to become that person, using wisdom that's been tested for literally thousands of years. 1. They have ruthless emotional control. Okay, picture this. You're in a meeting, and someone completely disrespects you in front of everyone. What's your first instinct? For most people, it's like watching popcorn in a microwave. Someone pushes the wrong button, and bam, they explode. But here's where it gets interesting. The person with real presence, they don't even flinch. They might pause, look at the person for a second, and then continue with whatever they were saying. Or sometimes they don't respond at all. They just observe. Now, this drives people absolutely crazy, because when you don't react the way they expect, they start second-guessing themselves. They're thinking, wait, why didn't they get angry? What do they know that I don't? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus had a brilliant way of putting this. He said, anyone capable of angering you becomes your master. Think about that for a second. Every time you lose your cool, you're basically handing over the remote control of your emotions to whoever pushed your buttons. But when you master this, when you can sit there completely calm while someone's trying to get under your skin, you become unpredictable. And people are naturally intimidated by what they can't predict or control. I learned this the hard way in my first job. I had this coworker who would constantly try to make me look bad in meetings. At first, I'd get defensive, argue back, make excuses, and guess what? It just made me look weak and gave him more ammunition. Then one day, I just stopped reacting. He made some snide comment, and I just nodded and said, interesting perspective, thanks. The entire room went quiet. He didn't know what to do with that. And from that day forward, he never tried that again.
That's the power of emotional control. You're not suppressing your emotions, you're choosing when and how to express them. And that choice is what makes you dangerous. 2. They have absolute indifference to other people's opinions. This one's huge, and it's probably the hardest for most people to master. We're all walking around like we're in some invisible talent show, trying to impress judges we don't even know. You post something on social media and then check every 5 minutes to see how many likes it got. You choose your clothes based on what you think others will think. You bite your tongue in conversations because you're worried about what people might say about you later. But truly dangerous people, they've already left the talent show. They do what they think is right, not what gets them approval. Marcus Aurelius, who was literally the most powerful man in the world at one point, wrote something that blew my mind when I first read it. He said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." When you really think about that, it's insane, right? You know yourself better than anyone else ever could, but you're letting random people's opinions control your decisions? Here's what happens when you stop caring about others' opinions. You become unreachable. And the unreachable are feared, not in a scary way, but in a respectful way. I remember watching this happen with a friend of mine. She used to be a total people pleaser, always apologizing, always trying to make everyone happy. Then something shifted. She started speaking her mind, making decisions based on her own values, not worrying about whether people approved. Some people didn't like the change. They called her difficult or stubborn. But you know what? The people who mattered started respecting her more. They started coming to her for advice. They started seeing her as someone with real backbone. The funny thing is, she didn't become mean or rude. She just stopped performing for an audience that didn't matter. And that authenticity made her magnetic. When you stop seeking permission from the world to be yourself, something shifts in how people see you. They sense that you can't be bought with compliments or broken with criticism.
And that's a very dangerous quality to have. 3. They have complete mastery over their desires. This is where it gets really interesting. Most of us are like kids in a candy store. We want everything, and everyone can see it. But dangerous people? They're the ones who can walk past the candy store without even looking. Now, I'm not talking about living like a monk or depriving yourself of everything good in life. I'm talking about not being desperate for anything. And when you're not desperate, nobody can use your wants against you. Think about it. How do most people get manipulated? Through their desires. They want money, so they'll compromise their values for a paycheck. They want to be liked, so they'll agree with things they don't believe in. They want recognition, so they'll do stupid things to get attention. But when you've mastered your desires, when you want things but don't need them, you become impossible to control. Seneca, another brilliant Stoic, put it perfectly. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more who is poor. When you're genuinely content with what you have, you hold all the power in any negotiation. I saw this play out beautifully with my mentor. He built a successful business, but he was never desperate to make it bigger. He had enough. So when clients tried to push him around or demand unreasonable things, he could easily say no. He could walk away from deals that other people would kill for because he didn't need them. And you know what that did? It made clients respect him more. They knew he wasn't going to compromise his standards just to make a sale. They trusted his recommendations because they knew he wasn't just trying to make money off them. This applies to everything. When you're not desperately seeking validation, people value your opinion more. When you're not chasing money, opportunities come to you. When you're not needy in relationships, you attract better partners. It's counterintuitive, but the less you need something, the more likely you are to get it. And when people realize they have no leverage over you, that you can't be bought, seduced, or pressured, they start treating you very differently. That's what makes this behavior so dangerous. You become the person who can't be controlled. And in a world where everyone's trying to control everyone else, that makes you incredibly powerful.
4. They maintain emotional silence in chaos. This is the big one. While everyone else is running around like chickens with their heads cut off, dangerous people are the ones calmly making coffee during the earthquake. Picture this scenario. There's a crisis at work. Maybe a big client is angry, or a project went wrong, or someone made a huge mistake. What happens? Most people panic. They start pointing fingers, making excuses, talking over each other, basically adding to the chaos. But then there's that one person who stays completely calm. They listen, they think, they speak slowly and deliberately. Everyone naturally starts looking to them for leadership, even if they're not officially in charge. Marcus Aurelius knew this. He wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." When chaos hits, and you're the only one not freaking out, people instinctively assume you've got everything under control. I learned this lesson during a massive project failure early in my career. Everything was going wrong. People were screaming, clients were threatening to leave. I was new, so I didn't really know what to do. But instead of panicking like everyone else, I just listened. I took notes. I asked clarifying questions. I spoke quietly, which made people lean in to hear me. And somehow, people started treating me like I was the expert, even though I was probably the least experienced person in the room. That's when I realized something powerful. In a world full of noise, silence is magnetic. When everyone's shouting, the person who whispers gets the most attention. This doesn't mean being passive or uninvolved. It means being deliberate. It means choosing your words carefully. It means not feeling like you have to fill every silence with noise. There's something deeply unsettling about a person who doesn't feel the need to defend themselves constantly, who doesn't jump into every argument, who can sit comfortably in uncomfortable situations. It makes people wonder what you're thinking. It makes them question whether they're missing something. And that uncertainty gives you a kind of power that no amount of shouting or posturing ever could.
Here's what ties all of these behaviors together. They're all about internal strength. When you don't need external validation, when you can't be emotionally manipulated, when you're not desperate for anything, and when you can stay calm in chaos, you become truly free. And freedom is the most dangerous thing a person can possess, because free people can't be controlled, predicted, or owned. But here's the beautiful part. None of this is about being mean, cold, or intimidating. It's about being unshakable. It's about having such a strong sense of who you are and what you stand for that external circumstances can't knock you off balance. The ancient Stoics figured this out thousands of years ago and is just as relevant today, maybe even more relevant in our age of social media, constant opinions, and manufactured outrage. If you want to dive deeper into these timeless principles that actually work in the real world, hit that subscribe button. Because trust me, the Stoics had this whole life thing figured out way before any of us were even born. And their wisdom might just change how you move through the world.